It drove.
I'm going to record for
It's
Denise. Just
fine.
maybe she'll
It's
be able
fine.
to listen later. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
I thought the sun is moving while you're mixing your little puddles of color. And he spent like 15, 20 minutes mixing. And I get part of that is frustrating for me because that's not how acrylic painters paint.
Yeah.
Because by the time we've mixed, even with the open colors, you're wasting open painting time by mixing puddles of colors. So I mix, once I mix a color, I use it. Then I mix the next color and I use it. And that's not, he sets everything up and he paints vertically. So it's on glass. So he's got these puddles of paint vertical that he's working with next to his painting.
Wow.
That part of there's a lot to learn there. Anyway, in that one, I've always wanted to paint really dynamic rock structures like that, but I would never, I look at a photograph, whether it's mine or it's somebody else, I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So he gave us the building blocks of where to start and how to create that atmospheric depth just in your underpainting. So that's all that is my underpainting. That's all I got done. There's a fourth one of a creek with some dead trees, or I'm sorry, dormant trees, and a snowpack and a running creek. I like his photograph. I like the photos that I have of my creek better. So I'm going to use his lesson and paint my own creek. I hadn't decided yet whether I was going to extend and pay for another month, but I kind of thought I've got enough to go with now. I may hold off because he also has pre-recorded individual, if you can pick out the subject you want to paint and buy it that way. But in the spring, in the fall, he's actually going to go back out and paint in plein air in some national monuments. And you can pay for that series. So I thought I may wait for that. And in the meantime, sure enough, I hadn't paid for March yet, but the first Friday of March came in, and it came into my mailbox. And it was exactly what I'd said. If he ever starts painting hay bales, because I've seen some of his paintings, and he likes painting the round hay bales. Apparently a lot of artists do. Yeah. I think they're boring to look at. They're even more boring to paint. It's like, okay, I have to do my apple exercise now and learn how to paint a cylinder or a sphere. It's painting a cylinder. And sure enough, that's what came in. And I thought, well, that made my decision real easy. I'm not paying for March. I just will drop this. I've learned something. I will keep going on, because you get the lesson that you buy, go back and look at it over and over.
Oh, nice.
And I've written down notes, and it's been good for me. It's just a different way to look at things, a little bit different way to paint, a little more painterly, and a little less focused on the details, which I'm working towards. So it still doesn't replace being live, interacting with people, which I miss terribly from your studio.
What was his name again? I'd love
Chris.
To look.
It's Chris Kolupski. Kolupski. Kolupski, I guess you pronounce it.
Kolupski.
Yeah. And he's on Instagram, and almost all of these paintings you can watch in like a 1.5-minute time loop.
Cool.
And so you see his style from that. And it was watching those that made me decide to subscribe for a month. And a month was only $110. And it includes a 2-hour video every Friday. And you have all week to work on that. Then you send your painting to him in an email. And then Fridays, they do a live 1-hour Zoom critique of everybody's work. So you learn from the other critiques as well as yours. Hi, Sweet Pea.
Say hi, Miss Bridget. I've got
How
my
you doing, Bessie?
She's
Miss How
Bridget
you doing, Bessie? Good morning.
Can you say good morning? We're practicing on greetings. We did that Sunday because she gets really shy when we.
Sure.
She said, "Well, I don't know who that is. What's their name?"
Yeah.
So we're doing that, right? Bedhead a little bit. Well, thank you for sharing about that. I love seeing different techniques, and ever since I began really studying art, I like to know the procedure. How do you start? Even watching a time lapse, a lot of times you can grab little bits and pieces.
His are very good.
So they are made for you to paint along with him. if
The
you
ones, yeah, when
choose
you pay
to.
for it, it's
Yeah,
slowly done, and he does the entire
gotcha.
painting, and you can pause it whenever you want to catch up. And he says now would be a good time to catch up. Just hit pause and catch
Yep.
it, so you can paint concurrently with him, or you can watch the whole thing through and then come
Mm,
back and do it. You know, he makes it very user friendly.
that's cool. I like
Yeah.
that. And I like seeing, the methods that teachers use as well, because I'm always learning,
Hmm.
even teaching at school, just ways to help the kids. From my first class in the morning to the afternoon class, I figure out different things to do, so I think it's just that always having that teachable mindset, that we want to peek into how to do this better or easier,
Right.
or more efficient. Well, what I did at midnight last night was I realized that I wanted to show the little 6 or 8 minute clip of that Rose's work of her
Uh-huh.
on that BYU. I don't know if anybody got to watch it. Usually we don't, but it is so inspiring because it shows the stages of the
Right.
work, and it's just beautiful. But I realized that when you go to BYU and you even try to take a screenshot, it blacks out. So they have some kind of thing on there that prevents you from,
Interesting.
and it won't let me share it on Zoom. It'll just be a
Uh-huh.
black screen. So I couldn't find my tripod at midnight. So I just put my phone on a candle holder here and held it, and I recorded it so that we could watch it together, because it's just, and again, it's only about 6 or 8 minutes, but she's just really a cool person, and I think it'll.
Did you look at some of the other pieces in there, not in that video clip, but showing how she makes the little figures?
Yes, the Marquettes.
Yes. I
Did
was
she
just
make those
dumbfounded.
herself? She said I used the Marquettes, but she didn't say that she made them.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that. I just made an assumption
Maybe
there.
she did. Maybe she did,
Yeah.
but I didn't even know what they were, and I had to look
But
them up and
yeah,
see what it was.
to get the lighting and to pose and everything, I was just fascinated.
And so you've already watched it, so we don't necessarily have to watch it, but anyway, I think just stopping it, looking at it again, and seeing how
I'd like to watch it
she
again.
does it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. Let me share the screen real quick, because I did. I have a PowerPoint here. There it is. Let's not pick it up. Wonder what's up with that. Hold on. Maybe it's just because I didn't have it open. There it is. I just had a couple of quotes. And I put a few more of my pages that I've been working on in Desi's book. Because I haven't this week, because we've been working on Matt's house, trying to get it ready to rent. But this one, I love this Wordsworth quote. Of course, it has to do with writing, but it's, the breathings of your art and putting your personality down there. Of all places, art is a spot where mistakes should be considered honored guests. It's a struggle for me to get that through to my kids. And I had an interesting experience with my kids this week. I had them draw a city street for 1 point perspective with buildings on one side and trees on the other. And I did that in a Zoom class. So I wasn't actually there to help them correct. They would bring it up to the laptop screen and let me see it, but half the time I couldn't see it very well. So when I got there Friday, the first thing I did was go around and look at each of them and critiqued. And it's so funny how I have these two twin girls that are so shy, painfully shy, so sweet, soft-spoken, but I could feel the tension when I corrected them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said a couple of times, I said that the reason you're in art class is to learn. And of course, when I asked my little ones that, I said, who knows everything there is to know about art? Of course, a couple of them raised their hand, but I said, I'm always going to be a student. I always want to learn. And one of the most important things that you can do is accept constructive critique. So I said, if I just show you one or two little things, you can't imagine what a difference that can make. So of course, most of them on the 1 point perspective made their trees at an angle along the side of the street. So all I did was just said, all your trees need to be vertical, even with the side of your paper. So these two girls, again, they were very quiet. I could feel that resistance, but I had them erase, and it was hard. I had to give them the big tri-tip eraser and erase it out. And then they added watercolor, and then after it dried, they added little micron outlines. Bridget, they were so wonderful, both of their drawings. And both of these girls, usually one of them is real meticulous, the other's kind of just, you can just see her scribbles. But it was just so rewarding for me to believe my own words that a few tips, just changing a line from slant to vertical, can make all the difference in the world. And
were they happy with it?
Well, it's hard to say. I think
Oh.
they were. They answered me and said yes, but it was so obvious. They were really, both of the girls were really good pieces of art. And some of my other students did. My grandson is just blowing my socks off because he's never been real interested in art, but he is such a wonderful student. He does everything, that's the biggest part of this, is if you do what you're told and instructed, it works. The plumb lines, the measuring, all the exercises we've done. So they all have these sketchbooks full of instruction, and I have them take little notes. This is 1 point perspective or whatever. So it's been, I told somebody this week, God, it's called me to a hard thing to go back, because I love teaching adults. They're so excited to be there, and kids, not always. Little ones, yes. But paint's everywhere. It's a big mess when we get done.
Oh yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. But God has given me such enthusiasm, and the kids are so precious. In the middle of my elementary class on Friday, the music class across the hall was singing a new song, a new praise song, Matt Meyer, about the Lord's Prayer. And all my little kids, they're just busy working. They all started singing in class.
Yeah.
And I grabbed my phone, because it's like, here they are in art class. They can hear it faintly across the hall, and they're all singing a cappella in my classroom. Where do you go to find something that sweet?
That's wonderful.
So I just looked up and I said, thank you, Lord. You've called me to this. You're equipping me for it. You're giving, not only equipping me, he's already equipped me way beyond measure, but you're giving me the joy and enthusiasm to do it, and the energy, because hey, being on my feet, leaning over kids all day is not always an easy task.
Oh, and I'm sure not.
So thankful. A couple more quotes. If you don't go after what you want, you'll never have it. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. If you don't step forward, you're always in the same place.
All good ones.
Yeah, that was a good one for me. And I want to see what happens if I don't give up. And that's where we are. And, one of the projects we're doing at school is, you start to fizzle. And I'm the same with these sketchbook pictures. I'll sit down, I'll work on them for about an hour and a half at night, and I'll get the whole thing covered with watercolor. And then I know I need to go back and fix skin tones and stuff, but I fizzle there. I want to go start something else. So the stick-to-itiveness is an important element. And this is what we talked about earlier. To practice any art, no matter how well or badly, is a way to make your soul grow. And that's a different terminology, but you feel the little, just like if you watched a time lapse of a plant coming up through the dirt, you feel the little pop sometimes of your spirit being lifted up. So I appreciate that. All right. I'm so proud of you. Good job. And then Poppy can give you some chocolate chips. Go tell him. She likes dark chocolate chips, but she does have to eat her healthy food first. Okay. So why art? It says you may own the best gadgets, the coolest fashions, the swiftest cars, but the next generation's hipper iterations have already been imagined. When all else is replaced, repaired, expired, or obsolete, only your paintings will remain and will say the most about who you are and what you value. Okay, just a minute. And that's that posterity thing. I received a sweet email from my friend Angela Howell. I don't know if you know her.
I do know Angela. I have her book.
Okay, yes, her book. We don't connect very often, but when we do, she'll send me a long email, and she did that about my newsletter this month about the sketchbook. And she said, "Oh my goodness, Christy, have you thought about writing children's books or whatever?" But just taking the time. Daddy's still asleep, I think, but yes, just okay. Just in a second, I'll do it for you. No worries. But anyway, just that little encouragement to stop and take the time and say, wow, what a gift for her, for Destiny, and there's the mom thing is still really up and down. A lot of, we get hopeful, then we get dashed, then we get hopeful and our hopes get dashed again. And it's hard. And so
Sure.
the main thing that I want, and I know you do too, we all want for our grandchildren is to know how loved they are.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for girls, because I've known so many women who have had wounds and didn't get loved. And that's where they were seeking in male relationships. And so I've just prayed over that and prayed over it. And I just feel like this book is one more way to put love letters and capture memories, because all those pictures, the 10,000, maybe 50,000 pictures I have of her are just on a hard drive, and so to make them personal like that. And I'm just transferring them over. I'm not sitting there drawing everyone out, because that'll slow me down, and that'll, I know I can do it. Like, you can do it, but it's like, this is not the point of this. I want to get these images captured in color for her and the notes. So anyway, let me go to that. I'll jump on over and show you what the last few that I've been working on that I'm not really finished with. I'm still struggling with the skin. Of course, we always struggle with skin tones, but
particularly hard with watercolors.
Yes, they are very hard. And I feel like I'm going to keep going back. They're so blotchy. Daddy his whole face is in shadow here, and I need to grayscale it because I can see, looking at it here, that I've put too light, these light pops are too light in the shadowed area and too black.
But if they aren't that light, you may not see the features. So it's a trade-off. You have to do a lot of judging with watercolors.
Well, you've done them, and I haven't. So just trying to figure that out. But I do know, going back, maybe I could put just a very slight glaze over the top. So I've watched some videos that talk about glazing without lifting, because you end up lifting the color, and a lot about glazing. But the feeling is here, the likeness is here, and the joy is there. And regardless of how blotchy my skin tones look, and Daddy and her holding hands.
Yes, that's just precious.
That we were at the cemetery putting some flowers on my sister and my mom's grave that day. And it was just such a sweet, sweet memory. This one is her and Matt, and he is so thin. This really makes him look wide. See, I go to the thing, but you can still see my skin tones are really blotchy. So I've got to try to figure that out, even going maybe back over it with gouache. Any ideas?
Not really, because while I know about glazing, to get color intensity, which doesn't work with skin. I have not done watercolor people because of the skin. I've seen other people do it. I think it's brilliant, but their first washes are so incredibly pale. It's like, it's like a tea bag. It's just hard for me to comprehend. And while I've worked with gouache, I've worked with the acrylic gouache that is permanent. So all it is an opaque matte acrylic paint. So it's not true gouache at all. So I can't, and I tried to explain that to Denise because she wanted to work in gouache. I said, well, I can say, yes, I have. No, I really haven't.
Yeah.
Because what I bought was acryl gouache is what they call it, and it's got the polymers in it. So once you paint with it, it's permanent. You can't move it around afterwards. But moving paint is dangerous anyway, because you start messing with the quality of the paper, and it's tough.
And this is just
really tough.
That Stillman burn. It's not really watercolor paper, but it accepts all kinds of media. but it's still challenging. And I can see where my colors are gotten real muddy and dirty down here, just because I had some blue there or something, and
But see,
it doesn't matter.
that's not what I see in that. What I see in that is this perfectly encapsulated little protection of his sister. It's just precious. It's the
Yeah,
story to me. I'm not looking at the colors or how wide somebody is, or
yeah,
any of that.
right,
I'm
right.
seeing, I think, what you already captured with your camera, what you're trying to express.
And that's her daddy, and he walked in the other day as we were.
Oh, that's
as-
her daddy. I thought that was her big brother.
No, no, that's Matt. Um,
Oh,
it,
okay.
and it's he.
Does Matt also have a mullet? Because that's what I was seeing, was what looked like a
Yeah.
mullet in his hair.
Well, no, he's growing it out, and it's actually gray, so it's a little too
Oh, okay.
brown. He typically has it in a ponytail, but that day, I guess with the
Uh-huh.
rain or something, he had it down. No, it's just it goes everywhere when he doesn't put it in a ponytail.
I thought it was
Um,
Deb. I'm sorry.
no, 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 it's fine. And when he walked through, he said, "Mom, I just loved her hand on my shoulder like that."
Mhm.
That little connection there, because I took
Exactly.
6 or 8, and I was inside the cottage. This is looking out the back door of our cottage. I was inside, so the rain was kind of dripping on the window, so I couldn't really get
Sure.
that feel. This last one,
Oh.
I just love those daisy glasses, and
Uh-huh.
of course, there again, the skin tone. That was just my first layer of skin tone, and it's dirty and mucky. But and the arms too, just trying to get the umbrella was giving this beautiful red orange glow.
And you see that. Yeah. It's
Um,
there.
so it's but now this background, I don't know how I'm going to handle that. It's pretty messy and a little distracting now, but I wanted to leave a little room to write. But the bottom line is I have so much joy working on these at night. There is nothing stressful about it, because the drawings are there. I'm not having to fight to get everything, because little bitty heads, these heads are a
Oh gosh.
quarter. It
Yeah.
takes you forever. And when I transfer them, and you taught me about the trying to do the graphite, but I still just put some charcoal powder on the
Uh-huh.
back, and then I transfer. So I end up wiping all that off. I only have a faint little marks. I really don't even have the whole drawing, but I have enough there that makes me able to draw them in about 30 minutes.
Right.
And so I draw up about 4 or 5 of them, and I go back with a mechanical pencil, and it's easy for me to sit down at night and just do the fun part of putting, some
There you
color
go.
on there. So
Mhm.
whatever season we're in, I think we have to find what is most pleasurable and isn't making you totally frustrated and stressed out. And I think I'm in a Bible study at church called Good Boundaries and Goodbyes. And she talks about understanding our capacity at any given time, our emotional capacity, our time capacity, our physical capacity. And I think with art, sometimes if there's a million things going on, we don't need to get into some brand new heavy technique
Uh-huh.
that's going to stress us out, because we're not getting. We have to be able to have that space in our head to really welcome
Yes.
something brand new. You might speak to that with these new techniques.
Well, you
That
have to have enough time to get your aha moment out of that,
Yes,
to know that your time is being well spent. If you spend a lot of time and you're not getting that aha moment, then you're probably not in the right space.
yeah.
So
So that there's and what does she call it? An assessment time. Yes, baby, just a second. An assessment time of stopping. This week we're in a little thing that has a little where you are here, and it's like a speck in the middle of a mall map or something to say you are here, but to stop periodically and take account of what else going on in your life and what your capacity is, instead of always being um, always kind of grieving over, I want to do this, but I can't. But when you
right.
really look at what's going on, it's like, this is what I can do right now. No big,
Hmm.
I started a big painting of her over here, and I've abandoned it right now because I just don't have the time or the mental space to jump into that right now. But it's on the easel. It's waiting for when I have the time to do that. So anyway,
When you have the time for it to bring you the joy.
yes, because if that element's missing, I like what you said, the aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't have a few of those along this sometimes perilous journey of art, you can't hardly make it. So I'm gonna flip through, let's see. These are some of hers. I posted most of these. But I think she uses orange a lot as
Yes.
her underpainting. And you can really see, you can see it everywhere, even in the whites of her eyes. You can
Mhm.
see the orange glowing through there. Now you look at it sometimes and you think, did she go back over that? But when you watch the video and really look closely at her technique, Norma is speaking at a women's club this morning. So prayers
She is
and
going places.
well wishes for her. She said, I'm just
Mhm.
going to let it flow. I don't know what's going to happen. I said, just let what's in you flow out, girl. It'll be just fine.
Beautiful.
I know. We've already talked about it a little bit. Bridget,
Oh,
jump
crap.
in there. No.
Yeah,
Jump in there.
I was doing a weekly class with Chris Kalupski, and he was teaching the anatomy of a cloud. So that's what I was working on.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Who's
Isn't that awesome?
Christy?
His name is Chris Kalupski. I found him online through Instagram. And if you look at his paintings on Instagram, he almost always does like a minute and a half speed version from the first paint strokes all the way through the end. It's fascinating to watch. And he does a number of different styles. It's all in oils. And I've been enjoying it.
Good. I can see.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
The first part that I recorded, if you want to go back and listen to it too, she tells a little bit more about his procedure and techniques. And I loved hearing about that. He was plein air. He was doing this plein air, but he mixes all of it. He
Not
takes a
this
lot
one.
of time. Oh, the other one, the Grand Canyon that she just
all I've got is my
blocked that one
underpainting on
in.
this, but the grand painting he did in plein air, and you watch, it's a 2-hour video, and you watch the sun move across these structures. It's fascinating.
Makes it tough to paint. It's a pain in the butt.
It does.
Yeah, no kidding. Let me go back to this little thing. And I love that Sharon. And I did share a little bit of I'll just flip through those quick peach. I'm continuing to work on the things at night for Desi.
Oh, granddaughter, I mean. Well,
this is her little book. Oh, you haven't been here. This is her little book, and I'm writing in it for her. It's a Stillman burn. And I've not done watercolor before. So I was telling Bridget I'm really struggling with skin tones.
you're not struggling. You're doing great.
Well, thank you. But the blotchiness of it, I like it to be smooth. So these are my first layer. So I feel like I can maybe go back in with some gouache.
That's the beauty of watercolor. You can always go in and wash it over.
I know. So that's what I'm hoping to do. So these are some of my last pages, and the book is very special. I told Bridget that I have such joy doing this. And that's the key factor is I can do it at night after she's in the bed. I smile the whole time I'm doing it. It's not, it's fun. So that's the whole key. That is the key to all of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was going back to this. Oh, I went to the very end of it. I wanted to show y'all a little video clip of this lady's work. I've posted a couple of them on Facebook. But I saw her on that BYU TV, and she uses these bright orange underpaintings a lot of times.
Nice.
She's a Mormon. It's that BYU TV, and she does mostly these. She's gravitated over to more spiritual works.
Oh, I think you showed us her stuff before.
I did. I put it on. I haven't shown it in this, but I put it on Facebook. So again, on these even you can see the orange glowing through.
That's beautiful.
They're really beautiful. They're very simple. Even these pieces that are just a little bit of painting and mostly the
Drawing.
The grisaille drawing with paint lay in. So she talks about these on the video. It's about 6 or 8 minutes, but she talks about her process a little bit, her inspiration. And I thought watching it together would be very, very encouraging. And we might see some of her techniques and see some of her tips. So these are just some of the images that I found online. Again, the main thing, and I put a folder called Cool and Warm, because all of her paintings have that cool, warm contrast in a really dramatic way. And they're done, you'll see from this video, Peach, they're done from marquettes. Are you familiar with that? What a marquette is? I had to look it up. There's little sculptures that sculptors do, like a rough draft for their large sculptures.
Okay, yeah.
So it's interesting. We don't know in this video whether she makes them herself or whether somebody makes them for her and then she uses them, and I don't guess you could pose them, or I don't understand the process, but I think
they have little posies, couldn't you? Little.
You can see in one of them that they're posies. So maybe the heads just I don't know. Let's see if we can look a little closer and see what we see.
Great.
Say that again, Peach.
Ask her.
Yeah, we could contact her and ask her if I can figure out how to do that. I told Bridget that I realized at midnight last night that you can't share the BYU videos. They just are a black screen. So I set my camera up and recorded it at midnight so it's a little funky, but the quality of it is good enough that you can see it.
For a second, I was like, it's like these two eyeballs. Oh gosh, I'm sorry again. Sorry, I didn't mean to whack you. I didn't join the church until I was 19, and that's after a year of art school. And so I saw myself in New York City, exhibiting in galleries, doing really cool, funky, figurative art. But I just don't feel that I have the same drive and conviction behind those works. That is why I have leaned more towards the religious works. They're things that I believe in. I've set up my maquettes. Here, I'll show you what one looks like. I build maquettes because I love being able to use it as a vehicle of storytelling. They really allow me to move my camera around just like a cinematographer. I just love exploring different angles. Sometimes I sketch it out before I bring the maquettes in, but sometimes I sketch from the maquettes. But it's really great for me to pre-visualize this painting. He's stuck. Although these pieces sort of tell a story, I see them as metaphors and personal commentaries. There's always a little bit of me in there. If I'm painting a person like the woman of faith, that could be me. I feel like I don't have him to the right scale, or I'm not sure. I might have to reshoot that. I mean, I'll just do it like where she is right there. That's what the Savior is going to be. It just feels better. Being a religious painter was never on my radar. And now that's mostly what I paint. My breakthrough piece was Flight. It was the piece where I finally understood how to marry my contemporary sensibilities with my religious beliefs. It really gave shape to a series of paintings driven by a single idea. And that idea was my fixation on the role Mary. As a mother, as that singular individual who had the responsibility of taking care of this child. So I have painted Mary and Jesus with Jesus at different ages, from infancy all the way to early manhood. There's not much in the scriptures from that period of time in the Savior's life. There's like 2 lines, not much. But I imagined what it would have been like. When I think about Mary, I just marvel that she willingly took on this role and just had this sacred opportunity. And I realized that this is sacred and this is special, to be a parent and to be a mother. Hey, how are you? Thanks for coming.
So fun to see all of your work like this. It's just,
Thanks.
I really appreciate it.
So these are his apostles. Okay.
Honestly, I love what you do because it feels like you capture the people there.
Just wanted to say thank you
Oh
so very
my
much.
gosh, thank you for coming.
It's just beautiful.
Just been really amazing to have a place where I can show not just a week's worth of work, but really a lifetime's worth of work. Earlier work, paintings of my family, my young children when they were young children. So it's been kind of a lifelong dream to have a place to show it all. Every time I do a show where I'm testifying of Christ, it kind of lets me know that He's aware of me and maybe other people need to be touched by the stories of Jesus.
We live in
Really, this is my testimony on my sleeve. And I'm really touched when other people are touched. And it really does buoy me when it gets really stressful and trying to do a painting. It's very encouraging.
beautiful.
I always like to include a cool element and a warm element because they play off of each other. And that's pretty much my approach to color. That's my color theory. Light obviously is symbolic of Christ. We are told in the scriptures that He is the light. And I definitely use lighting as a vehicle to either create drama or to tell a story or to draw your attention to the Savior. This is my happy place. Except when there's deadlines. I started this series of Mary with a Newborn back in 2003. I decided I wasn't going to attempt the Nativity until some amazing concept came to my mind. I really didn't have a vision of it. Maybe I shied away from it too because it had been done so many times. I wanted to be able to offer a fresh perspective. It's really hard to find a new way of painting this scene without it being, ho hum, another nativity. When you're not excited, you just don't want to get behind the canvas and you procrastinate. That's when you hit a wall. And at the time, I had no plans for painting this series, but the Spirit told me that I needed to paint the Nativity. The logistics of creating a painting like that were just daunting. There were so many figures, and it was so complex. What does a grotto look like when it's lit by the moon, or the Star of Bethlehem?
I just found, I watched it twice, and I found that just listening to her inspiration and motivation and seeing those paintings up close, they're very much like an illustrative type of, like you would illustrate, a commercial artist would illustrate, but more than that, they go beyond that. Sorry, Bridget, we lost you for a minute.
We had a power outage.
Oh no!
I had to switch. Yeah, that they're doing some work around our neighborhood, and I think somebody hit a line. It's back on, but
oh, good. I wanted to show you. I wanted to stop and look at her frames. The way she frames all these pieces. Hold on. Hope that's not making you too dizzy. Hold on. Makes me want to throw up when I do that. Okay. So she has a lot of really interesting framing. I was trying to there was a couple of them that just had a little thin strip on the top and the bottom.
Yeah, bottom, exactly. Almost like a.
Yeah, like this one, you can just see the bottom of it, but they have, it's like cornice work or something on the top. Anyway, very interesting, very beautifully done. What else? I loved her statement about that it takes faith, especially when you're doing religious work, that she works out her faith on canvas, and that she has to seek guidance, and I've heard Norma say that a lot, especially about some of the really emotional pieces that she's done, that she's really prayed. And I was sharing this earlier about Des, just wanting her to be so filled with love that, that she doesn't have any empty places in her. And I feel like this little sketchbook is a spiritual thing that God has given me to do. Not only does it bless me so much, but it will bless her as she grows up and has the little love letters and the memories in there. I don't know about you, but most of my memories from childhood, my dad took slides and a few videos. So we are blessed to have a pretty good collection of photos. And I have good memories because of the photos. The photos
but you
helped.
Very few pictures of your father.
Right.
And
because
I do the same thing.
Your dad was a photographer as well. Wow.
By the way, Christy, in the note or the chat, I put it's on Instagram. Rose has a separate page, Rose Datoc Dall /maquettes, and it shows how she makes them. She does sculpt the heads. She buys the bodies and she sculpts the heads, and she sculpts over the articulated bodies with magic sculpt, I think she calls. I don't know, it's a polymer clay or what it is.
Awesome.
But I know you were playing the video. I know she said that she made, I heard the words. I thought, then there must be something more about that. So I just Googled it, and that's what came up.
Well, I've been a figurative and portrait, primarily artist, that I have always, when we went to see David Wright, I wanted to know, how do you set all these things up? Because you just can't paint this stuff out of your head. So do you actually get actors? And of course he does. He said he went down to Stones River. You got the Indian guy, the canoe, all that stuff is out in his barn. A tremendous amount of work goes into those compositions. Same here. I mean, you need to be able to be a sculptor. I would love to be a sculptor. It's like, where do I have time to go learn that? One more thing.
The sculpture of Joseph's face and of Jesus, it's pretty fascinating. So I just touched on it while we were watching the video. But I'm going to delve into that some more because that's just fascinating to me.
Me too. I love that. And those marquettes what definitely stand still for you. Don't have to worry about wiggles or, there's a, but it doesn't affect her work as far as using not a live. I think it's like certain painters have painted enough from life that they know how to translate skin tones and the translucency and all that, just like people who do I lost my train of thought, but anyway.
But think about all the draping of the fabrics that she has to do to get the lighting right on that. So she's a sculptor, she's a seamstress, she wears all these hats.
My
She's really
goodness.
quite a woman.
Really, really does. And I have some I feel some lack sometimes because it's like I don't know when I'm ever going to have time to do what I really want to do. But I watched a show a few weeks ago called The Case for Heaven. And it was so interesting. It's a reporter, Lee Strobel, who was an atheist, and he wrote a book called The Case for Christ, but he went into it as an investigative journalist. And he's made 4 docudramas about his investigations, and he talks about heaven, and he interviews some people who've had some and it's not like one of those near-death things that's kind of fluky. Very interesting that what he feels like we have started here, we will do in heaven in an immeasurable way. Everything we've ever desired. It's very interesting. It really put something in my heart that made me not feel, I just don't have enough time to do everything I want to do, that we will have eternity to do what he's created us to do. He didn't put that in us, and then he's going to say, taking that back, you can't do that anymore. Your time's up. Boom, you're done. So anyway, just wanted to add that in there. She also mentioned the ho-hum, not getting excited about what you're doing, you procrastinate, and how you'll hit a wall. And so we were talking about that earlier before you hopped on, I think, Peach, about having estimating your capacity in any given time. I'm in a boundary study right now, a spiritual study, and it talks about stopping to take account. And what is your emotional capacity right now? What is your physical, your mental, your logistic capacity right now? And, to not put anything too heavy on yourself during certain times, to, just like the sketchbook is so relaxing and non-pressure for me right now. And there's definitely been times when I needed the pressure to get things done. So I think just stopping every now and then and taking account of what's going on in my life and being accurate with your capacity. And another one I've been reading is a Rick Warren daily reader, and he talks about leaving margin. I've never really heard it put that way, but he said we fill up so much of our time with sometimes things that are not very fruitful. And he said, if you don't leave margin in your life, you don't leave some space, you will burn out. You will, we kind of all know that, but to deliberately, Bridget must be having sound problems, but to deliberately say, okay, and I'm doing that right now because I know being a mom and grandmom to a teenager and a toddler and all these buildings and things that we have to maintain, there's no room. I can't even have the face-to-face relationships that I want to have right now. So, I'm very aware of it when there's extenuating circumstances, but when my life is just kind of going along, I fill it all up with too many things, and I'm not deliberate to leave some margin in there for joy and just space. So you guys maybe I don't know if you have that, but I'm notorious for no margin. Bam, fill it up all the way to bedtime till you drop it in the bed at night. I think that's all I've got. I love that. I'm going to look up her link, and if we can post that on the Facebook page too, Bridget.
I will.
Peach, anything you want to share with us? I see a painting in the background that looks really beautiful.
Thanks. You're talking about this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, still.
Well, I painted it and a long time ago. It was one of those things, that you do. And I looked at it and I thought, eh. So I thought, maybe I'll fix it. I've been doing a little bit because I got two, how many? I don't know. Yeah, one woman shows up, then I got a 1 day thing. And so I've taken some smaller things and just sort of tweakalized them, plein air paintings and stuff to make them a little
Mhm.
better so they don't suck. The suck thing. Anyway, so I looked at this and I just said, yeah, I think I'll fix it. But I don't, like you, I've got a lot of things going on. So I'm just sort of doing it when I can do it. And I did write a children's story.
Oh,
I told you about. Oh,
so.
for a little frog, a friend of mine's kid who's 2 for his birthday. And it was just a little thing. And I did the paintings like a storyboard,
Mm.
watercolor, of course, and then put words to it and got it for the little frog. But then I fleshed it out a little bit more because somebody said maybe they could get it published. So that's where that is.
Oh, can you share any parts of that, or is it pretty
Is it-
much in construction right now, and you can't, as far as sharing it on Facebook or?
Done. Oh no, I'm not going to put it on Facebook because I just think I need to.
Well, yeah, if you're going to publish, you don't want to.
Trying to think if I was going to look and see if I had any. Dang it, little watery colory things. Like, let me do a search. Bridget, why don't you take over while I'm looking for it?
Yeah, no, while you're looking, go ahead. I wanted to ask you. Oh, go ahead, Bridget, if you have something else too.
No, I just posted on Facebook the Instagram page.
Oh, cool.
You have another, I missed your other show. You have another one coming up at the Tulip, or have you already done the Two Rivers thing? I
Oh.
saw.
Done yet. That's not till, I don't know. 25, 26, it's a Sunday.
326. I'm gonna, if I don't put it on a piece of paper, if I just mark it, if I just see it on the digital, on the social media, I can't remember it. So I have to put it on my calendar. I really wanted to come to that.
Remember anything? Forget it.
I know.
Oh, I know. Hang on, I'll get it. Hang on.
Okay, awesome.
Shoot, I'm such a dork.
As the chair goes spinning.
I know. I
She's
know.
like, ding!
I
Squirrel.
know. And Denise has done some children's books and cards and things like that. And it seems a lot more doable with watercolor.
Mhm.
It really does. Even these little illustrations I've done in her book, they remind me of a storybook, and they're just fun.
Are beautiful. And I just got a few here. I'll just
I'm
hold
gonna spotlight you so we can see you.
Oh boy, spotlight my butt.
Don't you love it?
Okay. So
Oh.
that's Sage walking into the woods.
Oh
Oh,
gosh.
Meets the dinosaur. Oops. He met a dinosaur.
Oh, have you already done it for her? And
Peach.
she has the book.
Oh yeah. Well, she has all the illustrations and then a little bit of verbiage. But then I looked at it and I fleshed out the verbiage. But yeah, it's an actual
Little book for the child.
He knocks down the beehive.
Oh,
oh, that's wonderful.
He's crying. Poor
a
little bee.
banana peel.
Well, that's not beehive broken, and the little bee is crying.
Oh,
And they
the
put it
hive is broken. I gotcha. Oh,
to fix it. There's more to it than that, but basically there you go. So it was just fun, and I was doing it and laughing when I was doing it, so it was fun. Just like when you do your beautiful illustrations and with your granddaughter and the umbrella, because it makes me happy.
yes.
Mhm.
Because there's no pressure. It's just me doing it for screwing around.
And honestly, I love that. I'm gonna take your spotlight off now, Peach. Honestly, they called me from All About Art Gallery last week and asked me because I'm not doing commissions right now. And it was so hard to say, no, I'm not doing commissions. I can't tell you how hard it was to pick those samples up and bring them home. It wasn't hard, but it was. There's so much pressure with that, and it's so different. It's so different when you don't have, and I asked myself, did I have to do that? Did my finances need it so much? Did my work need it? What was it that pushed me to do those commissions for all those years? Probably both, because I learned something with each one, and it kept me painting when I would put it off because I had the deadlines. But there is such a relief to it right now. And I don't, she said, well, whenever you're ready, we love your work. We want you to bring, let us know when you do commissions again. I don't know that I will, but I don't have to make that decision. What, Peach?
Why does it have to be commissions?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
doesn't.
you say you love my work, good. I'll bring some stuff in, and we can hang it and log it for me. I mean, why can't you do a still life or something?
I could if I wanted to, but there's nothing in me that wants me to do those things right now, I guess. So it's funny how we change. You don't think you'll change. You think, oh, I'm always going to love this. This is, but I am changing in what I want to paint and what I love. But I have to also remember, they talk about this in recovery. A lot of times when you relapse, it's like you've lost everything that you had in your years of recovery. I've heard, addicts and alcoholics say that. It's not true. You start fresh, but you have all the experience behind you. So the same with my art, even though I'm on a shelf right now, I'm still looking. You guys, this keeps me accountable to connect with you guys, because I'm really not connecting with artists right now at all. And I miss that. I mean, I have my kids at school, and there's a lot of joy in that. But I am still advancing my skills, even though I'm not.
Me too.
Painting. We're still, because we're still thinking about it. We're still connected. What we have is what we have in this bank of experience and knowledge and practice and study. So I don't know. I guess I just had to say that out loud, because you just feel like a slouch sometimes when you're not doing what's really in your heart, what you're passionate to do. What else? I was thinking there was a couple of things.
Well, and some of the things that you put out there to, for instance, Rose's work, it's just like, that is, you know me, I'm not a people person as far as painting. I paint people if they need to be in a painting, but I'm not a portrait artist. It isn't necessarily something that really lights my fire. But what I'm looking at and how she's doing it makes me want to do some.
Yes.
Makes me want to paint people again. And I hadn't wanted to paint people in a long time. So it is, all of us, when we share what we found, a different artist that we found, or something that really floats our boat,
right?
Share it. My gosh,
Yeah.
share it.
Put it out there.
Sometimes people, and I've heard artists say, why do you share other people's work? Because I like it, because I want to. And they say, well, doesn't it detract from yours? No, dummy, it doesn't.
Yeah, I've had the same thing. My husband used to say that when I was sending out newsletters and stuff. He's like, why do you, listening to me teach one time, he was like, why do you mention all those other artists that you've studied with? And I'm giving credit, because I'm standing on their shoulders, and I'm not ever going to stop doing that, because it's important to acknowledge where that came from.
Right.
Not that I need that in my students or going forward, but I just, I like that. And I like to share other work that inspires me. It's a natural thing. So keep doing it, right? Because
yes.
A big part of this is inspiration, and we can't keep doing it if, like she said, if it's ho-hum, how did she put it? Ho-hum, not excited, hit a wall. Yeah,
we've all been there.
Yes, we definitely have.
Just throw some paint.
Yeah, and when we get discouraged, there again is the thing to keep going and not give up. Even if you're doing it on a small scale, you're just doing something very small. And that's why I continually say, give yourself credit. We've been redoing Matt's house, so I've had, hopefully they've taken pictures a lot along the way. We've tried to take pictures, but just looking at a floor that was all rotten, and seeing the new joists, the
Mhm.
new subfloor, the new flooring, all the trim, and painting it and caulking it. That process was very satisfying to see
It's very
that.
creative. Yeah.
Yeah, it's making, and my son does that all day long with these cars. He takes an old rusted out junk and he totally restores it from the frame all the way up through the seats and the upholstery to the headliner. And it's really, that's part of our creative duty, not duty, because it's not a duty, but it's creative joy, I guess you would
Mhm.
say, is whatever we're doing that we're making a little better than it was.
Well,
So,
and our middle son has wanted, if he asked for it this a couple of years ago, that we both get started, that Paul and I get started on writing down family history, how we were raised, why we are the way we are, just little family stories and anecdotes and whatever. And I was a creative writer all through school. I was told to major in it, and I didn't, but it should come easily to me. And every time I sat down with a little journal to write versus draw, I was just like, it was like that assignment, what I did on my summer vacation. I did, and there's this blank, and I couldn't get words out. And I told him how frustrated I was by it. Well, I don't remember what show I was watching, but somebody referred a book on this, and I'll write. I have to go find the book because I'm only halfway done with it. What I was taking it with me on our travels, but I will put that also on the Facebook page. And it's not on, it isn't a book that says how to write. It's about creative writing, and it refers back to the diary of Anne Frank with her diary named Kitty, and how she just wrote things down. She wasn't planning on it being a great novel. She wasn't planning on it being anything other than her expressing her thoughts. And it's helping me. I'm about halfway through it. It's helping me loosen that up and get that going so I can start just scribbling down thoughts. Because that's, even though we did that wonderful journal creative, what it was, where we did the drawings in the journal. It's, what was it, 6-8 months ago? I outside of writing down the words of how I was drawing, I didn't write down any storylines. I didn't write down anything. So I'm trying to figure my way to do that. And it is just like drawing, because the more you do it, the easier it gets. Hello, learned that lesson, but I haven't been doing it. So I'll put that name of the book in Facebook too.
yes.
Bridget,
I'm sorry.
question. I have a question.
Uh huh.
You talk, right?
I'm sorry.
Talk. You're talking. You're talking.
Yes.
Record it. Tell the story.
Yeah.
Tell the story.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, don't worry about writing it. You can write it later, but just talk your way through it. Little anecdotes of your family to the kids or whoever's around there. Then write it down when you're hearing it. It'll, with the photographs in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
and listening to the recording, and do what Christy's doing, paint it. Just little watercolor stuff, or
Uh huh.
nothing fancy, nothing, excuse me. That will help you. That's what I
That
did
makes sense.
at first, and I went, ah, ha, ha, ha. I started writing crap. So and I'm not a writer. So all I'm saying is talk your way, if you're having a problem, and I'm sure the book is fabulous. I'm not saying don't, but talk your way through it, little
Mhm.
snippets of stories, then write it down. Will that help?
It will, because it helps the fact that it doesn't have to start with the beginning,
Exactly.
Right.
and that's
Right.
it's kind of where. Mhm.
That my nieces and nephew have asked me to do the same because my parents have been dead for crikey since I was in my 20s. So same thing. And I just came across a history that my grandmother wrote.
Wow.
Mm.
I didn't know I had the dang thing. Anyway, and I read it. It was great. It was about her parents and her,
Mhm.
and she was a wonderful writer and did poetry and painted and blah blah blah. But anyway, just think about doing it that way, and don't worry that it's not all of a piece in chronological order
Right.
Right. Thank you.
later.
Well, and I was trying to find my images too, because I shared these before, but I only have two right now, but I'm using the old, not the old, the brown paper sketchbook. It's kind of brownish, so it looks kind of antique.
Oh,
And I put together, let me share the screen. I put together some pictures because I thought of this late one night of my granddad. The pictures themselves are no good. Like you wouldn't frame the pictures. So this is my granddad. These are a bunch of pictures that I put together. Of course, he's had like a cataract surgery or something, but this is how I remember him sitting on the sofa. Remember, I think I shared that a couple
You
months
did.
ago. So
Yeah.
he had his newspaper, his flashlight, his little donuts, because he was an ex-alcoholic, had all these things around him. And I just thought about that one night, and I thought, in my book about our family history, I've got my grandmother in the kitchen in Old Hickory with her apron on, and she's cooking. I just drew them. I transferred them because I want to record it. And I told her earlier, I can draw these, but it will take me a long time to get those teeny tiny heads right. So I'm just going to transfer them, and then I'm going to embellish them. You can't trace and make a good piece of art if you don't know how to draw.
That's right.
You really can't. You really can't. So, but that is the stumbling block. But then once I'm done with those, and same with Desi's book, I put that book on my bedside table. And at night, when I'm going to sleep, I'll flip through it and I'll write in very lightly with a mechanical pencil. I'll go back and read it a few days later. If it's good and I like it, the memory or whatever, I'll go back with my micron pen, or I have another nice pen that has a nice calligraphy. And it is so satisfying to go back over those mechanical pencil lines with that nice micron. And so I've only got 2 pages in that book, but I'm going to put family memories in there, just like what you're talking about.
That's a great tip. That's awesome.
And it's not any one thing. So I transfer them, get the mechanical pencil because the mechanical pencil doesn't blur.
Right.
And then I close them up. Sometime later, I go back, and I'm doing these in black and white. So I'm using a white chalk pencil. And I forget what if I just use graphite like Daryl Steele did, just really lightly. And then that's the second stage. And then putting them in my bedroom is the third stage of writing about it later. But the photographs, the drawings, they spark my memories. So I don't know if, again, I hope that will help you. But so rewarding. One of our things we read earlier, Peach, was, where'd it go? If I don't have it up, it doesn't come on. Let me find it and we'll kind of close out on this. Unless you guys have some more things. I can go on and on. I don't tire of this time together. Here it is.
we're so cute.
We are. We're just PowerPoint. That's the one I want to share with you guys. All right. Which one was it, Bridget? We talked about it. Maybe it's partly this one. You may own the best gadgets, the coolest fashions, the swiftest cars, none of that. But the next generation's hipper iterations have already been imagined. When all else is replaced, repaired, expired, or obsolete, only your paintings will remain and will say the most about who you are and what you value. And so the other one is, this is from Georgia O'Keeffe. This was in an art show of hers. Whether you succeed or not is irrelevant. There's no such thing. Making your unknown known is the important thing, and keeping the unknown always beyond you. I've been absolutely terrified every moment of my life, and I've never let it keep me from doing a single thing I wanted to do. Does that sound like Georgia O'Keeffe or what? And then, but again, just thinking about posterity, and what you leave behind and what it says, what it might inspire other people to do, or even to know. My dad came over the other day, and we were so busy, and we had so much going on. We needed to get to Matt's to get some things done that were pressing. But I sat down for an hour and a half with him, and then I said, "Hey, Dad, come on and go with me over there and see our work." But we talked about and remembered things. And I said, "Daddy, tell me a little bit more about your childhood. I know you grew up in Old Hickory and it was so wonderful, but tell me a little bit more about Nana. And I want to know those things." And I told Bridget at the beginning, it does something inside of our spirit to remember those things and hear them, whether we realize it or not. It adds health. It adds nourishment somewhat. I don't know what it's doing to my cells in my body, to my dad as he remembers, but I love watching him remember because I can see he's 84 and I would love for him to stay till he's, 100 if he wants to. But again, just those meaningful relationships and the connections that we make are so important. So I love the idea of those books. I love that. And there's that Wordsworth about put your breathings on paper, your what's in your heart and what you value and what you remember. So, and that your kids want it because, I heard that recently. What was I listening to? And they said, how many people, if you ask them, will know the names of their great grandmother? That a lot of our generation now doesn't really care about the past. Now, maybe at some point in their life they will. But it seems like certain personalities care more for that about the past than others do. So
I think someday they will, and then they need to have it. And if you're croaked, nothing you can do.
it's gone. That's right. So I want to know, what I came from, and I want to know where this came from, and I want to give credit, just like I was talking about those artists before. I told Daddy as he was sitting here the other day, I said, Daddy, Karen and I learned faithfulness from you. He worked at DuPont plant. He missed 3 days in 32 years or something. And it was because he had surgery. And it's like, Daddy, you do what you say you're going to do. I've passed that on to my kids. I hope I'm passing that on to my grandchildren. But to stop and say that, where it came from.
You're muted.
You're muted, Bridget. We want to hear it.
Unmutilize yourself, babe.
It's kind of a mixed bag when it comes to past generations. We all knew who our great grandparents were, or at least my family did till kind of my dad being military moved around so much because they all lived in the same town. My grandparents and her mother and her spinster sister all lived in the same 3-story house. Granny and Aunt Amanda lived on the top floor. Grandma and Grandpa lived on the middle floor, and downstairs was a general store that they ran. That's, and so people grew up in the same towns. You knew who your relatives were. It's kind of more important now to have that genealogy written down because you may not have ever met your great grandmother or grandfather. So it's very different now, but so they may not even know their need to know, but it's there. I think that's a lot of the reason genealogy has become so fascinating now. We lived with our genealogy way back when.
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, it depended. For me, my mom's parents were up in Boston. And so there was so much I did not know about any of it. And they didn't talk about it. That was that 50s generation where you don't air your dirty laundry. You don't talk about anything. Yeah. But even though there's hard things, I want to know about the hard things too, because they were overcomers, and they did overcome a lot of things that we don't encounter anymore.
True.
I love what you said. They may not know they may not know their need
that they need to know.
But what you still do it. And it's like it's like the man, there's a story about the man that planted all those trees, those walnut trees or pecan trees or whatever they were. He did that even though he would never see any pecans from them or whatever. We do
or
it
sit in the shade of those trees.
In the shade of the trees because it would take him so long because he was 80 years old or something. But we do it because it's in us and because of and I don't separate this from divine inspiration, because I will be laying in bed at night or wake up in the morning with one of these ideas on my head of my granddad sitting there, and just think, I'm going to put that on the pillow Chilcutt page, because we have a family page. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to make a book so that I can leave it to my children. When, I don't know. I'm just got 2 pages so far, and it's been a couple years, but 1 page a year. Hey, doesn't matter. And we're doing another thing on a Saturday Zoom group that I do about your calling right now, or what is this focus of your life? Are you just going by your days, or you're on autopilot? And one of those things is recognizing, I lost my train of thought. Recognizing what is important and what you're doing, that I floated off in left field here about it,
It's
but
okay.
you know, it all kind of ties together of
Mhm.
of what am I doing? And it doesn't matter how long it takes. Oh, I know what it was. A couple of the women that share on there don't want to retire because they don't know what they'll do.
Mm.
And as artists, we
Really?
never have that problem, right?
It's true.
Never. I mean, if it's video for me or whatever it is, there's always something. Oh, if it's a new flower bed, I'm digging another bed out there, and I'm going to make a vegetable garden by the cottage. There's always a project, and that is such an exciting way to live. I'm overwhelmed by it sometimes, but I'm very thankful for it because it keeps us excited, motivated about always having something. We don't ever have to worry about being bored, right?
Oh, waiting to croak.
No, I want to stay longer. I got a bunch more stuff I want to do, so I don't want to croak.
Neat.
So, oh, thank you guys for showing up today. Again, thank you for letting me record it. I will just share it with the ones that weren't able to be here because I know it will
Absolutely.
encourage them to. I put it on my personal YouTube channel, and I have to make it public because if I just put one, I don't know, when I share it like that, people can't find it. So anyway, nobody finds it. You'll see those on my personal page have 2 views or something. So I'll post that later on when I get a chance. Thank you guys.
Good. Absolutely.
Not sure when we meet again, but maybe next month. Peach, did you say something?
Thanks.
Oh, thank y'all. Keep doing that. Keep your brushes wet, like Peach says.
Your pencil sketching. Do
That's
it.
right.
Absolutely.
Go for it. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
Bye, guys.